Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of this week's topic on momentum. On Tuesday's video, we spoke about the pros and cons of groupthink and how it can affect your company and the momentum you're making within your company, right? So just to recap, groupthink is when your entire team is on board with a way of thinking based on your company culture. So on Tuesday's video, I gave the reference of you moving your sales team up a notch because they've moved from $100,000 months to $200,000 months. And the last thing you want to do is remove people from that team who have already adopted this mindset of advancement, this mindset of more, this mindset of getting out there and getting those sales. They could have teamed up with each other. And the reason for this is because their initiative has spawned over to other departments. So I mentioned your accounts receivable and your accounts payable team now having more work to do because the sales team has ramped up their initiative. So your sales team has acquired new customers, which means that accounts receivable now has more money to take in and accounts payable has more money to send out for you to fulfill the product or service that it is you conduct for your customers. So for today, I want to speak on your clarity for moving your team forward. It's kind of like a second piece to groupthink. So when you go to move your company forward, you need to be clear. And I say that all the time. I know it's like a broken record, like but at the same time, clarity will allow you to properly divulge information to your team and information that is pertinent to their part within the plan. All right? Clarity will allow you to divulge information to your team and allow them to understand their part within the plan. So when you go to level with your team, or when you go to speak to your team and kind of gauge where they are, how they feel about the momentum and the milestones that the company has checked off, you need to be in a position to know where you want to go, but also know the stats of your players, right? So in my live, I gave my horrible analogy on a sports team and what it takes to get to the win or to the end goal and then, get to the win. And I said that the what is the win and your strategy is the how. So how, we're at a good place with groupthink. Most companies have issues with dissension. Everybody's isolated. People don't feel like they belong, or it's day shift's fault. It's night shift's fault. Accounts receivable didn't take in the invoices in time. Accounts payable doesn't have enough money to go out. We're more so pointing fingers at each other. So groupthink is more beneficial than it is a negative. So I want to clarify that. But at the same time, if you are at a place where your team is just on that one accord and that's where they're staying, like, $200,000 is enough, we double what we normally take in, that's going to be horrible for your mindset as a leader. It's going to be horrible for the momentum of the team because they're willingly losing steam as opposed to the steam going down based on the task ahead of them, right? It's different when you're doing the work and you get out of steam. But if you haven't even started the work and you're out of steam, it's like we're about to start from zero, but we've accomplished so much already. So you want to keep them in a place where they're ready to move forward, but your clarity is what's going to keep them engaged. So when you go to introduce more change, when you go to lay out a plan or a multi-step initiative for the company for the year, make sure you're alluding to something that's bigger and let them know that these current steps are only building to get to that big, right? So don't make them think that our goal was $200,000 a month and that's where we're going to stay, everything's good. No, if you want to get to $500,000 a month, or you want to see how much you can get to in a quarter, leave that assignment open-ended. Leave that idea open-ended in the sense that they can get excited about achieving more even though they don't know what the most is. Does that make sense? Like, I've achieved 200,000, I've gotten to 250,000, I've gotten to 300,000, right? We're just doing more, but we don't know what the most is. We don't know what the cap is. And not having a cap is amazing because in the beginning you've laid it out. We just want to do more. We want to get to a place where we're constantly seeing growth. We want to get to a place where all of our teams pull their own weight, but we are still a team in and of itself, and we are all moving forward because this allows all of us to have a bigger pot to pull from, or have a bigger pie to eat from, so to speak. So there are ways you can allude to what it is that you want to do for your company. We're seeking to have our money to expand. We're seeking to have our money to build a new office. We're seeking to move up our current members who have been with us for years. We've seen your work. We appreciate your dedication. And now that we have the funds to do this and everybody's on the same page, look out for promotions. Look out for this. Look out for that. You're not giving a definite timeline, but you're saying what is to come. Right? So your open allusions will allow you to fill spots along the way to keep everyone's momentum up, right? So you got Susan in accounts receivable who's been there for 15 years, and now she's the director over accounts receivable. Whoa, she like skipped 2 positions. It didn't come until month 8 after the initiative started, but still you've poured into that open-ended bit. You've poured into it. You've kept their momentum up. You've kept the fire under them to continue to achieve. And now that they've seen that fire and they see such a big wave of change or such a big wave of appreciation, they're at a place where they've completely bought into what it is you're talking about. That groupthink that was once starting to fizzle down because they didn't see any results, like month 4 they were at 300,000, but none of those changes you talked about came. If you continue to keep them in an open-ended state, or you continue to keep your team in a place where you celebrate their milestones, you celebrate what it is they've done, but you always let them know like, hey, I feel like we can do a bit more. We got to 300,000. Let's see if we can do a bit more. And even in there, you can do little kickbacks. Out of the $300,000, you do a, 10 or 20% of that. And you kick it back on raises. You kick it back to your team in sales whose, sales have doubled or tripled. You kick it back to your accounts payable. You kick it back to your accounts receivable. You're feeding them bit by bit while it's still open-ended because you haven't reached your most yet. Not reaching your most, or not even telling them your most, is going to be your most beneficial thing. You don't want to tell them, hey, we're going to get to $500,000 a month and that's our goal. Because once they get to $500,000 a month, they'll stop. Once they get to $500,000 a month, your groupthink will dissolve. Once they get to $500,000 a month, they're going to be like, okay, is this it? Once they get to $500,000 a month, it's going to seem like you reap the reward, even though they're the ones who did the work. So you have to remember that in keeping it open-ended and alluding to this path of progression and alluding to this place where someday it will end, you have their engagement and you're using their own momentum every step of the way. And like I said, those little kickbacks, 10 to 20% of those new top performing months, that all along the way is going to keep them bought in. It's going to keep them in the place where they too want to see just how much they can do, just how beneficial it is to be a part of that team, just how beneficial it is to be a part of your company. Because now not only are you taking in more profit to put into other ventures or to put into other offices or whatever it is you initially set out upon, you now have loyal employees who are pushing themselves in a sense. They are pushing themselves because of the groupthink. They are pushing themselves because they know Brian is about to have his 3rd baby and everybody's aware and everybody's excited and that bonus is going to be great for his paternal leave and all of this. So your groupthink, your buy-in, your company culture, leaving your goals open-ended is really going to get everybody involved. It's going to get everybody fired up. And then they'll have their own momentum where all you have to do is congratulate and let them know we're moving forward towards the goal while never, directly expressing the goal, but we're still moving forward. And then, like I said, when you move Susan into that big position in month 8, you've let them know I wasn't lying, and here it is. You guys have achieved so much, and here it is. You guys have achieved so much. Here's a kickback, an incentive, a thank you, a I see you along the way, right? So just to sum it up, what are you alluding to with your players? How are you capitalizing on groupthink? Are you planning to diminish the negatives of groupthink or the cons of groupthink, like I said, by not giving a direct number or an express stopping point or a cap? So make sure when you go to move your team to that next level, or you go to give those initiatives, make sure you're clear on where you're going without directly expressing it to the team so that they don't stop you guys, all right? For Adrena with Trinity Professional Group, get your copy of my book, The Conscious Leader, on my website, trinityprofessionalgroup.com, and follow me on Facebook for Adrena Reed / Freddie the Trinity Pro. Bye, guys.